Ladies and gentlemen, when in doubt, push them out of the arena. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, Adubin 2, have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact. I don't want to say everything should go down to Smash Bros. Logic when you think it shouldn't, but like everything should go down to Smash Bros. Logic when you think it shouldn't. Now, if you don't know what that means, then fine. I'll explain it in a little bit. But still, Nazians for one of the smartest characters. If not, like, who out of the percival team in specific, who's smarter than Nazians? Heck, who out of the main cast currently is smarter than Nazians? Maybe Gawain? Because she's, like, Arthur Chaos educated? But, like, Nazians is the smartest character and should be one of our smarter combatants. And they make a series of, like... I mean, I get that this chapter it is spicy. It is spicy. I like it. But I got some questions. But once again, I'm hoping y'all in the comments can come together and then come save me and come change my perspective. But of course, you may be wondering what this is all even about. So let's not waste any more time. Let's hop right into chapter 187. The boys fall into darkness. And this is a cute cover page. Once again, I don't know. Apparently, the shipping discourse got so bad on the Reddit that they banned any discussion of ships. Or no, not specifically just ships in general. There's still like ship art and stuff like that. They banned Percival ships. I don't know what y'all were doing over there, but the fact that the discussing of the main character being shipped is banned, what were y'all doing? What, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a wholehearted believer that Pan is basically canon. Like I'm not fighting. Like, don't get me wrong. As a guy who loves Nazians, I know Nursival ain't happening anytime soon. I'm still convinced Nazian's gonna die. This chapter, clearly not. This chapter, I don't think so. But like, I smell death in Nazian's future. Like, the death flags are so big, high, tall, and radiant that they might as well be painting all of creation. But with that being the case, I gotta be sitting here wondering, like, dang, Aroni, what were y'all doing? What kind of intense fight y'all? Reddit is text only. What did y'all do? I'm half tempted to like click on it, but I just know because I typically go to the Reddit in order to get the chapters. If you ever wonder where I get the chapters from, I go straight to Reddit. And I saw that. It's like, it is the like top pin thing that usually goes like right next to the current chapter. No discussion of Percival ships. It is crazy. But with it being the case, I do like this dynamic that they're the only two out of their duo who can fly. And while I definitely think a character like Donnie could hypothetically develop flight, it depends on how much Nakaba even wants to do with Donnie. Like, once again, I need to stop saying once again. Thusly, I am worried about, like, the relevance of the pure human cast that's not named Isolde and Anne because they're not being left behind. And Nazians has gotten enough buffs and was already kind of broken pre the buffs. Like, Nazians is a character who was already pretty cracked pre-patch, but then, I don't know, a bunch of Nazians mains complained enough and suddenly Nakaba buffed them to the moon and back with a Sacred Treasure tier gloves, then the Spirit Spear, 2 separate forms of it, and obviously fairy and giant hybrid biology. So, like, they're cracked now. But Kion? Like, what are you doing? Donnie? What are you doing? Like, I don't know. I'm worried for him. I'm definitely worried for him. And this is while we still don't have all 4 of the Knights back. Technically, we're still only rocking with 2. Tantris, while I haven't seen him in a little bit, like, he's still not here yet. So once we get him back, that's a 3rd. We're having Gareth join the crew, and they do have an interesting ability set. I'm still worried about their relevance. Like, Nakaba's going to be working with a fat, and I mean fat main cast. So, like, I'm interested to see him cook. I'm interested to see him make them all relevant. That's the big thing. Like, unless we're jumping everybody, which, I mean, you know, I ain't gonna not no jumping. Like, what on earth are we gonna do with a cast composed of, let's see, all 4 knights, so that's 4. Then there's 3 of the members of the Percy platoon, that's 7. Then there's Isolde and Kion, that's 9. And then there's Gareth, who's confirmed. Then we know Gareth comes with Gareth as a package, so that's 11. And then there's not a non-zero chance that Ballin joins us. It's low, just because of how old they appear to be relative to the rest of our cast. They do not scream teenager, so, like, maybe not. But we're like, no, because, like, all of our cast is currently teenagers. But that's the thing, they don't scream teenager, but there's a non-zero chance of Ballin joining, making it 12. The only reason I'm skeptical on Ballin joining is because Ballin's a little bit too broken. a little bit too bright. Like, the thing with Gareth is that they're balanced, right? Like, you know, they still have stat weaknesses. The soul sword can't work all the time. Like, there are things that, like, don't work in their favor. But, like, Ballin? Mr. Invincible? Unless we find out that man is not invincible, not title card. I have no idea how we're gonna deal with him. Like, I hope he comes along. I think he's a fantastic character, and we've got like 2 panels on him. But enough of that. Let's actually hop into chapter 187, The Boys Fall to Darkness. So we open up and we continue right where we left off at the end of chapter 186 with Company declaring, "Now Nosians is hit!" And this is concerning, to say the very least. But of course, Diodora is like, they're fiending for it. And hey, I mean, I ain't here to knock they hustle. Little crustle type beat, you know, I ain't here to knock it. But at the same time, I do love how fiendish. Why does this happen? Every time why does this, like, what changed? I don't even know what does it. See, now we're gonna have to, boom. I mean, it's fine being at the wider angle, but it's always weird. Like, I don't know. I mean, I have more hand expression room, but like, why? I don't know why it does that. But with it being the case, I am really liking Diodora, and this chapter only serves to bolster Diodora a whole lot. Not necessarily in terms of battle IQ, but at least in terms of general character-wise. Meanwhile, like I said earlier, this chapter kind of takes Nosian's battle IQ and dumps it in the trash. But with it being the case, we see that Capital E declares, "The spear just now certainly found its target with Diodora, but instead, it's somehow Nosians taking damage." We see Anne and Donnie genuinely bamboozled. We see Nosians wincing and obviously looking at their now bloodied arm. Now, with that being the case, I have a question for you. I put you in this exact scenario with the same amount of information that Nosians has. You just saw you did this specific type of damage to Diodora. What is your immediate assumption in a world full of magical abilities? And not only that, you very specifically see that your boy here, Diodora, your opponent, has access to 2 magics he didn't have before, and his homies are gone. If you have even the slightest bit of cognitive ability, what is running through your brain? What immediately makes you think? What is popping in your head? I'm thinking that Diodora has a magic that allows him, you know, catch bodies based on people doing damage to him, you know? Damage reflection. That's what immediately comes to my mind. This will not click for Nosians. It will click, but not click in a sensible way on how to interact with it. And we'll see that soon. As we see that the Purgatory Beasts are like, oh, well, you know, typically I like my meat a little thicker, but fairy giant hybrid meat, I never had that before. They'll make you a whole lot. Let me take a bite. And we see Percival declare, "Oh no! Look out!" as both Purgatory Bees go in for. And once again, Nakaba. I genuinely say Nakaba is just a freak of nature overall. Like, running this entire manga, inking it, drawing it, sketching it, doing all the paneling all by yourself is already crazy enough. But when it comes to monster designs, I don't read Kaiju number 8, so I'm trying to think of like any like current weekly competition. Even then, I don't think Kaiju number 8 is weekly. But with it being the case, I think Nakaba has some of the best monster designs in the biz in the current manga space. Like who really doing it? Like, I mean, like maybe Tatsu Sensei, but Tatsu Sensei does like a lot of alien designs and like bases them off of supernatural stuff. And of course, technically, I suppose these things are here. This is a snake and a chimera, technically. But still, Nakaba does such a fantastic job with these designs. Even if they are, like, unnecessarily freaky in some way. Why does the tongue have a face? And why is it so veiny? But Nakaba be cooking. However, speaking of cooking, Nosian's like, "Do you really think I'm that fodder? I've got my granddaddy with me right here," and proceeds to whip around with the spirit spear. The Percival spear, second form Chastevil, comes back and beams both the Purgatory Beasts. Now, I'll admit, they don't do anything for the rest of this chapter, but they're still here, so I'm not sure if they get knocked out. In fact, hold on, I'm going to jump super far into the future, because I know we see them again in a wide shot. Okay, yeah, so they were knocked out. I couldn't tell that in the live reaction, which ran for about 20 minutes. You can check that out over on Patreon for those $1 a month. You can remember for those $3 a month to check out the 20-minute live reaction of this chapter. But I didn't really think about it here. But yeah, they were just flat out knocked out. So they got diffed viciously by this 2-piece wombo combo from Nosian, which is crazy. I mean, like, admittedly, the tiger did get hit in the jaw, which is typically like a knockout button for all creatures. You sucker punch anything in the jaw hard enough and it will knock out. And I guess this thing was hit under the jaw as well, which probably like rattled their brain around. So yeah, both these Purgatory Beasts instantly drop from this 2-piece combo from a wounded Nosian. So like, Nosian is not one to be slept on. I'd say pretty definitively with the Spirit Spear and the Sacred Treasure Amp now, they're definitely the strongest of the non-Knight cast. Non-Knight of the Apocalypse cast. Like, obviously, any Knight still diffs them, like, pretty viciously. Like, I don't see anyone singular Knight losing to Gnostians, whether it be Lance, whether it be Gawain, whether it be Tristan, whether it be Percy. But in terms of the rest, Gnostians could arguably 1v4 right now, just because of how cracked that is. Because to be able to knock out Purgatory Beasts, full-grown massive Purgatory Beasts on an instant before they can lunge in and take a nibble, that's a little bit crazy. But we see that scrack and knocks both beasts out, and Gnostians, not learning their lesson, immediately goes and launches the Spirit Spear right at Diodora, this time going to take out their leg instead of their arm, and it does tear through the leg, and Gnostians looks on, but Diodora's like, sorry, I know you may not be used to the phenomenon known as versus battles, but that may be a waste of time. Because obviously, damage reflection do be damage reflectioning, and Gnostian takes a massive hit to the thigh. Now, I will admit, there's definitely a chance that Gnostian just isn't thinking straight because of the pain. Because, like, hey, getting hurt sucks, especially when you were not expecting to get hurt. I can't imagine my body randomly just burst out in agony. So I'll give Gnostians that excuse. But I still am going to need a little bit more than that, because Gnostians did attack the damage reflecting guy, again, after already seeing that he damage reflected. But now we have a 2-piece combo on Gnostians taking damage, and Gnostians pretty much immediately gets laid out from such an action, which, once again, makes sense. He had his arm torn apart, then he had his leg torn apart, and it seems like, I believe, are they the same or opposite? Yeah, they're opposite of each other. So imagine your shoulder hurting and your leg being gashed open. Yeah, I'd be an absolute agony too. And they fall right on over. But with it being the case, we see Kimberly declare, What's the trick behind this? Gnostians is down once again, despite landing that attack. It's not like full counter like what I saw from Meliodas. What kind of magic force is this? And that is interesting, right? That goes to show that if Gother hasn't seen it and doesn't have any information on it, Diodora's magic truly is one of a kind divine type beat, because Gother has no idea what it is. He thinks it's kind of like full counter, but of course the damage isn't multiplied here, and obviously Diodora didn't have to swing anything for the damage reflection to activate. It's how do I put this? It's like bounce. It's like, well, no, because the thing with bounce is that you take the damage or no, you don't take the damage at all, because it immediately reflects back. But essentially, this is an even better version of full counter, because you don't, well, not necessarily even better, because full counter does double the damage and it can prevent you from taking any damage, but still very much comparable in terms of this application, and much easier to activate, as all you need to do is take damage. Malicious damage, though. Remember, malicious damage to the body will be reflected. Nothing else to the body will be reflected. But with it being the case, we see that Anne asks, what the heck is going on down there? What's happening to Gnostians right now? And they're getting viciously diffed in. By themselves, no less. Like that's the most embarrassing way to get dipped. Don't get me wrong. I've diffed myself many times before. Like, the amount of times I've been power crept by myself is crazy. But at the same time, this one ain't all that complicated. This one ain't all that maddening. You can tell. But we see that not only is Anne confused, but the clothes that Diodora's wearing, Rothus' old armor, does actually go on to repair itself. And we see him admit, I see. My glorious, juicy, thick, scrumdiddlyumptious freak of a king Nakaba Suzuki knew that my defense had to be fought in order to actually enact my ability. So even though this armor is capable of resisting the miasma of purgatory, its defense stat is basically 1. So, like, that's crazy. I mean, it's cool that it can regenerate and stuff like that, as Diodora himself says. So this holds up against purgatorial miasma and repairs itself. How very useful. The lack of defense is a minus, to be sure, but it's a bit of a perfect match for my magic. So, like, once again, I'm not sure why I didn't call it, but, like, yeah, Chart and Rothus, they were genuinely set up to die wholesale. Like, darn. It is too good, too perfectly timed for it to work out like that. But of course it works out like that. And we see Diodora, while amazed at the fact that they will not have to be freakified every single chapter, because looks like Nakaba saw, I talked about Percival ships getting banned on the Reddit earlier. I guess Nakaba saw the Reddit earlier when talking about Diodora and how he was awakening some things to some of y'all, and he was like, whoa, let's calm that down, give him regenerating clothes. And with that being the case, we see that Diodora looks upon Gnostians and says, oh, you poor boy. That looks painful. Without this power of mine, I'd have surely lost by now. Which is true, right? Like, ultimately, you gotta think Diodora's in a spot where if he didn't have damage reflection, he'd lose pretty much every fight. He gets out damage and would have no magic to compensate. But now that he has this magic, he's basically good. Unless certain criteria and conditions are met, which we'll get into in just a second. But with that being the case, we see that Gnostians is, well, obviously breathing heavy after getting their shoulder and leg gashed out. And they say, what? What did you do to me? And Diodora and then once again, I love the smiles from Diodora. The consistent smiles, the way he's drawn. It's so good. I've seen a lot of people. I actually haven't read Berserk in a while. To the point where like I need to do a reread of it because I read it forever ago. With that being the case, I can see why everyone's saying Diodora is so Griffith coded. Not just from the design, but like the mannerisms, how he carries himself, and just the look. Like it does admittedly scream quite Griffith, but in its own unique way. As Diodora explains, only what you tried to do to me. You stabbed me in the shoulder. Stabbing is kind of the lightest way you could describe a spear bum rushing through your body. But still, you stabbed me in the shoulder and leg. That's all. What? Huh? And I love how everyone else here is like, how? What on earth? But of course, this is Diodora doing the whole anime thing and merely giving up the game, as they say, Rothus broke my neck in an attempt to kill me. Instead, he died of a broken neck. Turret attempted to lash me to death, but instead he was the one who was mangled. Wait, so your friends betrayed you? Yes. No. But like, I get it. We need to have it explained for us, because, you know, like, the anime needs the anime, and thus, like, we kind of can't just be locked out. But at the same time, Gang or Rudy, what on earth was I just about to say? This is why you don't record when EP kids. What on earth was I about to say? Oh, no, yeah. So, like, Diodora gives up the game here. And I guess the way you would chalk it up in universe is due to overconfidence and, like, an excessive amount of self-belief that he's fine and unstoppable. But, like, why would you give up the fact that your magic works that way and reflects all damage being done to you? Like, just knowing that alone completely changes how I would interact with Diodora. I don't blame Gnostians for experimenting with their abilities, as they'll go on to do later on this chapter, but they have a very specific ability that seems like it'd be the perfect, and I mean perfect, match for Diodora. What is that ability? We'll get to it in a second, because we see Diodora look down at their hand, once again losing their smile for a moment and having a very solemn and somber look to them, only for them to admit, oh wait, no. Oh yeah, he does, this is it. I got confused because Gawain and Percy were in the panel, but I'm sure they're regretting it now, wherever they are. When they died, after all, their magic found a new home in me. Which is, still kind of crazy. I'm still personally on the train that the original Diodora, the baby Diodora, has been dead. It was never really alive, and that this Diodora is simply a life spirit, just like Percy, truly fully filling into the parallels between the two. One is hope, one is despair. Both can wield hypothetically both powers, but Diodora, as despair, has a couple extra abilities or things that Percy himself may not fully understand yet. Like, there are definitely different ways for this to work, but at the same time, the idea of being able to steal magics is very enticing in a universe as diverse and flexible as sevendeadlysins. Diodora hypothetically could be the ultimate comp character. In terms of like, or like in-universe comp character, where every single ability is truly available. If he were to, you know, slaughter everybody. But with it being the case, we see Diodora proclaim, "This is the Lord's gift to me, after I was thrust into the deepest pit of despair, so I can take revenge against everything in this world." And the thing I love here, I love how both Capital Knee and Beltreep are like, wait, what you mean by everything? Like you ain't running my face. Like who you think you're running face? And I love that. Both of them are like, you don't want no smoke, young man. You don't want this. But with it being the case, you see Diodora, just as Balin did, gives this magic, this darkness, this deep despair, and well, darn, I said it. But you see, this is my magic, a magic called despair. And of course, you know it's very poignant. That big P, big Pizzle, big Percy is the one shown when talking about Oh, my Eddie is still there. Barber man, I trusted you. I was very EP in his chair today too. I feel bad. I feel bad whenever I'm tired and I go places to get stuff done because like it boiled us. You've seen it when I do it on camera. But a magic called despair. Once again, perfectly setting up Diodora as the exact rival counterpart to Percy. Now, of course, this is a question. Is there any chance where Diodora does end up like, oh, I almost turned the computer on, that would have made me mad? But is there any universe where Diodora ends up final villain? I just don't think so. I think ultimately the structure of Camelot itself and Arthur himself are just a little bit too important. But at the same time, Diodora and Percy having an entire lifelong rivalry, I can see it. I can definitely see it. And I can see the match that's going to come with them in the next couple chapters being especially intense, considering their magic mirror so heavily, and considering something that I'll bring up again later. Once again, sorry, I keep pushing things back. And it may be bad, because I may forget the things I'm pushing back. So should I stop pushing things back? Absolutely, but I won't. But we see that Pablo is like, What? What kind of terrifying magic is this? Nothing but despair, pure and simple. How will Gnostians fight back? And Gawain admits, more of a curse. Well, actually, we'll take this one step at a time. One step at a time. In fact, hold on. Wait a minute. Ooh, I'm gonna do this. Oh, that was bad. No, I can't risk you. Not my baby. Let me see. What? Okay. Okay, hallelujah. But we're gonna hit the belly drum. Get the blood pumping. Smack the cheeks a little bit. Smack the thighs a little bit. Smack the sides a little bit. Alright. Should have a decent chunk of energy now. Nothing but despair, pure and simple. How will Gnostians fight back? Push him out the ring. Push him out of the ring. Diodora can't fly. He doesn't have a single ability that would let him fly. He has the Purgatory Beast, but as we see, they're knocked out, and not even drawn in this wide-scale shot. But that's the thing. They're knocked out. If Gnostians were to simply whoop Diodora off the ring, he loses. I know ring out isn't technically... Well, no, I think even ring out is a losing condition. But what's the main issue with fighting Diodora, right? Oh no, you can't damage him. Oh, restrain him. Gnostians, you have a spirit spear form built perfectly for this. Sponge Percival doesn't do offensive damage. It is literally the perfect way to just throw a large hitbox at Diodora. It'll do no damage to him. And we know this damage reflection is just that, damage reflection. It is not effect reflection. Where, for example, Damon from Boruto, any action put towards him, lethal or not, or even if it would damage him or not, is reflected. So like if you were to push Damon, the push would affect you. That would mean you can't just push Damon off a cliff. Even if he can't fly, he'd be fine, because the push would be reflected to you before you could even execute it. But for Diodora, theirs is virtually tied to damage. So, it sounds a little crazy, but pushing Diodora off a cliff, like it's not the most insane thing, because he can't fly yet. And Gnostians has a clear and easy answer to that. If not that, restrain him. Just take the Sponge Percival and drop it on Diodora's head. What's he doing? Literally, what is he doing? Oh no, but he's going to be crushed though. Yeah, but he's bulky enough. He won't take damage from that. Just hold him down. There are definitely ways for Gnostians to easily win this battle, which they just don't do. And I get it, because once again, Gnostians isn't allowed to win this fight. Like, we need Percy versus Diodora. But at the same time, question, Gnostians, what on earth are you even still fighting for, buddy? Pal? I mean, like, what are you fighting for? Because remember, if they were to win this fight, they have to fight Percy. And we all know that Percy is the infinitely better option to actually fight Beltreep, or anyone who shows up in the finals from the other side. And then Beltreep. So, like, Gnostians, there is actually no point to you participating in combat here other than risking your life. So you could just hit the I surrender. So you could either restrain Diodora, you could push him off stage, or hit the I surrender. All of these things work out in your favor. Except, honestly, I'd say that hitting the surrender is even the best thing, because that means he can't take your life without being stopped, presumably. Or at least other people could interfere, but now you're just risking it. Because we see... Actually, no, not because we see it. We'll move on to the next little point I want to address. Gawain says, more of a curse than a magic spell, huh? And Percy says, oh, Gnostians, how could they do you this dirty? But no, he doesn't say all that. But I actually disagree with Gawain here. Diodora's damage reflection is perfect. Like not perfect, obviously. It's not absolutely perfect. Like I said, there are clear exploitable loopholes that I'm thinking off the top of my dome piece. I can excuse Nasian's maybe being a little out of sorts because, you know, the damage they just took unexpectedly, but still. But I wouldn't say that's a curse at all. I'd say it's just straight up a blessing. No one can harm you. And well, of course, there are definitely ways to atomize people in this universe, or just flat out erase them from existence, which may have no way to implicate Diodora's magic. That's still a really, really good magic. Though I will agree with like everyone else in last week's poll who was like, why would I even want to take damage when I could just be invincible? And yeah, I'd also take invincible. It's just way too convenient. But with it being the case, we see that Diodora's like, oh, you don't seem to be too mobile any longer. Let me finish this up right now. Nasians, was it? That's your name? Turn around, bend over, and spread it. But no, obviously Diodora doesn't say any of that. As they walk forward with their bladed hand, and we see that Nasians essentially reaches out. They're trying to do their best to reconnect Diodora with their humanity. As they say, I know how painful it is when you can't trust anyone, but I know there are still people worthy of your trust. And Diodora's like, no lecturing me, please. And that is crazy. You know what? I guess, but the thing is, I'm not a hypocrite. I love to yap, if you couldn't tell. Shock horror. But I love to yap. But as a byproduct, I also love hearing people yap. I'm a multi-yap kind of guy. I'm not a one-street yapper. A one-way street yapper, that's never been me. Never will be me. Never could be me. I'm a multi-yapper kind of guy, you know? You yap, I yap, we yap. And thusly, Diodora, just as I disagree with your general life philosophy on not having hope or connection or trust in anybody, I also agree with you not letting Nasians yap at you. You've been doing nothing but yapping. And letting them beat themselves. Ayo. Well, actually, I don't gotta put an AO on that. Let them beat themselves. Beat their own meat, if you will. Okay, that was a little bit too far. We're gonna put an AO on that. But like, still, Diodora. Don't get me wrong, I respect the smiles. I respect the disrespect. But this is actually kind of crazy. But with that being the case, we see that Diodora goes for the overhead swing, but Nasians actually manages to pull up and block in time, much to Diodora's surprise. 2 exclamation points of surprise, in fact. And we see, what was the thing I was going to push to later? I mentioned how Nasians could win. There's something else. Oh, there's something else. I'll see if I remember. But we see that Diodora is shocked to see that your wounds are gone. And that they are closed up. Nasians now has the shoulder exposed and the legs exposed. So hopefully they get a new fit. I'm not saying Nasian's current fit is trash, but like, considering what kind of drip lord they were in part 1, they wouldn't, a new fit wouldn't hurt. But with it being the case, we see Diodora being extra shocked because, as they say, but they ran so deep. How? And did they though? Did they? Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just how Nakaba drew it. But like, at least in my opinion, these wounds don't actually look that deep. Like, obviously they're splurting a whole bunch of blood, but like, it's not like there's a chunk taken out of Nasian's arm or Diodora's arm. Same thing with their respective legs here. It does look like not a flesh wound, obviously, but it looks like it just cut in. It didn't seem like it was actually too deep of damage. But of course, you know, damage scale varies for a person who hasn't taken damage before. And we see that ultimately Diodora is beat back by Nasians, who rises to full height. And obviously, Cabellini is like, oh, what on earth? Nasians is back in action. Even Diodora is thrown for a loop. And we see Percy declare with a big old foi, what? Wait, that's Percival. And obviously, Wayne is like, Percy, you certified, licensed, registered idiot. Why are you shouting your own name out so loud? And obviously Percy's like, no, not me. It's Nasian's medicine, the one he named after me. And if you're like me, you completely forgot this was a thing. But yeah, in Nasian's introductory arc, the whole point was making Percival, testing that drug that allowed things to grow and regenerate at a much higher rate in order to deal with the plague that was harming Nasian's home place, Echo Gorge. So this actually is a really neat callback. The only other callback I need is the Ceranos Horde, because that was the thing that was set up too. I need to see Wither. Like, I want to know how Wither would work on Diodora. Like, there are a bunch of debuffs that I actually want to see tested on Diodora, and then there are buffs I'd love to see Nasians use, because there still are whole aspects of Poison Mixer which made it so broken in the first place, pre the patch notes when Nasians got buffed to the moon. So like, Nazian still has potential and way deeper a bag than what could be initially believed. So I do want to see them exercise the bag a little bit, get a little creative with it, get a little chaotic with it, go a little stupid, if you will. But with it being the case, we see that Nazian says, I'm afraid you can't take me down that easily. I still have so much left I want to accomplish. Nazian's quit. Quit. There's nothing to gain here. Like, I don't know. And you know what? You may be like, Pencil, it's the principle of the matter, not when your life is on the line. Nope. It's why I've never, ever had the intention to fight somebody. Because I could die. What do I gain from that? What do I get? Oh, but Pencil, your honor, your pride, your image, I don't care about any of that. I want to keep it living in a functional body. Fighting lowers the chances of that. No. And in this case, nonsense, you'd have to fight your boy, who we know you'd probably forfeit to immediately anyway. You should just give up, buddy. This is not the fight for you. And we see it's not the fight for them as Diodora lunges back in and goes for another clash. This time taking on a still more wild approach in comparison to how Mortlock taught them the fight. But we see that Diodora says, stop being ridiculous. You know I'm going to kill you here. I'll kill you, and then I'll put an end to the one you love with your own magic. Which is also hilarious because Diodora can't do that. Even with everything, y'all may be like, wait, Pencil, what about the Purgatorial Miasma? I genuinely think Percy can neg that through his healing rate. I think he can literally neg everything that Diodora has to offer. Obviously, Diodora doesn't know the upper limits of Percy. He hasn't even seen the upper limits of Percy. But still, like, as a reader, I know there's no universe where even if Diodora were to get Nonsense's magic, Poison Mixer, and all that, I don't think it'd work. Especially on post-time skip Percy, I don't think pre-time skip Percy would lose to current Nonsense. But now you got post-time skip Percy with a better understanding of his hope abilities and despair abilities of his own. Yeah, Diodora, I don't think you got that, dog. I don't think you got that. It is a nice threat, though. And once again, that's the main thing I like about Diodora, and that's the main thing this chapter does for me, even if I think Nonsense's IQ points are kind of in the trash. Because it makes Diodora such a fun, and campy feels like an insult when I say it, but kind of campy-esque villain. Like, he's like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna take your life, and I'm gonna take your boyfriend's life, who's not really your boyfriend, with your own magic. Isn't it all gonna be great? Is it all gonna be bad? It's not silly, because obviously it's very dark, but it's the way they present it, the way they carry themselves, the way they swing the blade, everything. And even these little moments of, like, human weakness still, where they feel pain and wince from the damage, like, that's good stuff. That's good, juicy, thick meat. I'm going down a crazy list of descriptors, but there's some juicy, thick, meaty, scrumdiddlyumptious character work and character writing. I do love it. But with it being the case, we see that Nonsense declares, I won't let you hurt Percival! And they swing and manage to land that slash on Diodora, but of course the slash immediately opens right back up on Nonsense, and Diodora simply smiles, healing off perfectly. Interesting thing is, though, unless I'm mistaken, doesn't the cut appear on the wrong side? In fact, let me go back. Did that happen with all the hits? So let's see. No. So yeah, I think the cut actually appears on the wrong side of Nonsense's face, unless I'm mistaken. Because here, Diodora's right leg gets hit, and then Nonsense's right leg gets hit. And then for this one, it was Diodora's left shoulder, then it was Nonsense's left shoulder. But technically, for here, unless my angles are mistaken, Diodora's left gets hit here. Oh, no. Actually, that may be correct. Yeah, I think it actually is correct. I'm dumb. Yeah, it appears on the same side. I'm stupid. But I think. Because slash appears here, so it appear here. Slash should appear here. And technically it does. Yeah, I'm dumb. I'm dumb. But with being the case, oh! And Diodora simply goes, I'm gonna make you spread it. And we see that Cavallini announces, but in the end, Diodora takes no damage. Nonsense. Push him out of the arena. He may be healed, but Nonsense is still in dire straits. And Nonsense declares, if no damage will work on you. They immediately resort to venom mixing Misty Rain and Belladonna. Now, I don't blame them, because once again, knocking Diodora out does seem logical, but Nonsense, you have a way. You have like 3 separate ways you could win here, gang. Well, not win. Like 2 ways you could win without harming him and invoking his magic, and 1 way where you could just get out of this with no danger. But we see that Diodora is actually caught off guard by the venom mixing combo. And we see them go, what? It's a sweet aroma. Oh, why does it smell like chloroform? And immediately laying down. Or you think, as they stumble and go to fall. But, oop, wrong way. Bam! They lurch right back awake. Whoa! Oh, you startled me there. Showing that poisons, as long as they're poisons, obviously, they still work as reflections. Now, this doesn't affect Gnostians at all because they're highly resistant to whatever poisons they ingest. And they've been using henbane and belladonna specifically as poison since the very start of the series, so their resistance is super high to it, presumably. As Diodora says, "Was that your magic? I was almost put to sleep for a moment." And Gnostian says, "Oh, no, you can even deflect away poison?" And Diodora is actually genuinely intrigued. He's like, "Oh, it was poison, you say? I guess we're just all stitching on our kids. Sadly." And they say, "Oh, it was poison. Then why are you not affected?" And Gnostian reveals, sadly, I don't know why they say sadly here, I'd say luckily, but I say good for me, sadly, I have a resistance to any poison I ingest once. And we see that Anne and Donnie both are worried as they say, "Not even Gnostian's poisons can work on him?" And Donnie admits, "It'll suck for him if he keeps this up," which is very, very true. That would actually be sad if he keeps this fight going. But we see Gnostian spontaneously lock in. And this was the point where I had to look, it's like in the 20-minute live reaction, I didn't know what happened in this upcoming moment, but I did actually look it up. It's in volume extras. Once again, Nakaba, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm glad the volume extras do foreshadow some stuff like this, but this is something that I feel like we should have known in this, or seen in the main series, not something for volume extras. As we see that Gnostian in their head goes, "It was just for an instant, but it did work on him. It shows that his resistance is weaker against any element not in purgatorial miasma, I think." Which, yes, may be the case, maybe, but Gnostian's push him out of the ring. I'm not going to keep pushing that, but still, push him out of the ring. As we see Gnostian's declare, "And if there's any poison that'll let me finish this in a single instant, it'll have to be this one." We see Gnostians reach into their bag, or very specifically stab their blade into their bag. We see Diodora swing with a Marth forward smash, but unfortunately, he thought he was playing Lucina and mistimed the tipper. As he gets the tip, actually no, not the tip, because Gnostians reaches into the bag, pulls out one of the needles that we know them use, we've seen them use before, and uses needle, blood skull. And it instantly takes out Diodora, stopping their heart. That Percy notices, and Beltran immediately notices. "His heart! It stopped! It's instantly taken his life?" And we see Gnostians go to relax for a second, only for... "Not even this?" And they thunk against the ground. Percy's shocked. Gareth doesn't care. Borch is shocked. Anne is shocked. Donnie's shocked. And Diodora says, "Phew, boy, I thought I was dead for a second." And I do love that. Once again, Diodora is such a fantastic mentality character, right? Like, Nakaba, he's already made one of my favorite duology spanning villains. I think I still do like other villains more. Obviously, I love Arthur. I love Pelgard. I really like Ironside as an antagonist. I love Galen. I love Zeldris when he was an antagonist for the very relatively compared to his screen time. He wasn't actually an antagonist for that long, but I do love other antagonists. But Diodora, the more and more we get of him, the more and more I'm liking of him. So that's fantastic. But if you, like me, didn't have the volume extras downloaded or just didn't read them, you may be wondering, Nakaba, what on earth is Blood Skull? It was actually something he discovered, I believe, if I read those translations right. It's something he discovered while he was in the Fairy King's forest. It doesn't actually kill you. It just temporarily stops your heart. Kind of like how it just puts you in a cardiac arrest, essentially. But presumably, the heart will just restart after a while. The thing with cardiac arrest is that typically you need to be like, zzz, boom! You need to be resuscitated with like electricity. But for Blood Skull, it just essentially fakes you out. It gives you a temporary suspended state of animation. Now, of course, this is bad, even with Gnostians still hypothetically being alive from their own poison, because Diodora's right there and can still kill him in an instant. Because they fall right in front of Gnostians. Or no, Gnostians falls right in front of Diodora, so all Diodora has to do is whoosh. But that really depends on if Percy interferes in time to save Gnostians, or if Gnostians gets up because they have resistance to their own poison. There definitely is complications here, but ultimately this still is a W chapter. I think Gnostians definitely played the bag wrong. Once again, he should have at least tried Sponge Percival a little bit, tried to test out Diodora's abilities even more. But I think the main reason Nakaba didn't have Gnostians do that is because, one, Gnostians needs to lose this match so we can get Percy versus Diodora, essentially a mandatory canon fight, and also he wants to save that for other characters to explore. And presumably in the Percy versus Diodora fight, Percy's going to try to throw Diodora out the ring, and we're going to have to find out a reason why that wouldn't work and stuff like that. But overall, a W chapter. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Skull Blood. Instead of Blood Skull, leave Skull Blood in the comment section down below. I did thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you do even have a Patreon down below where you support me for as low as $1 a month. He thinks exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the live reactions, see what the series I have to review, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, you have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below, where you can drop 5 minutes short video, 20 views long video, or any means at all, and the support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier XZ, Zara, Brandon Payne, J2MA, Gyomi, Yuki Ally, Buddha Uda, Azo 2404, Planet Crone, G Prosper, Nevis 97, and Ollie. I'd like to give a big old thank you to our line art tier patrons: Sean, Nirvana Igneel, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, and A+A. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our Inc. tier members: Fine, Austin Wimberly, Euchia, Carlo Alaimo, and Grim. And then I'd like to give a big old hefty thank you to our digital art tier members: Jay Warrior and AZ Void. And then I'd like to give a big old thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Walkie Munoz and Walkie Munoz. And then I'd finally like to give a giga super duper kidney sacrificing thank you to our ultimate, that guy with a Calvin Elder.